10 old school WoW facts. Discipline was supposed to be the melee tree for priests, similar to how monks work in other games, and because of this, inner fire increased attack power along with armor. But priests had no melee attacks, and they had a talent that increased the damage they did with wands, but back in vanilla, wands couldn't auto-shoot, and they did terrible damage, so disc priests were pretty much useless. But having a useless spec of vanilla wasn't really that uncommon. Just look at survival hunters, balanced druids, prot warriors, and the warlock class. Warriors who tanked went fury because prot was terrible, and the warlock class was useless until a few patches into vanilla. In beta, Tauren were originally given the plainsrunning ability in place of mounts. Plainsrunning gave you the same mount speed as other classes at the appropriate level, but was super inconvenient. You had to run for 10 seconds straight to get the plainsrunning to kick in, and if you were hit by anything while running, your speed boost would end. Other mounts didn't dismount you on just any damage, and other mounts only had a 3-second cast time instead of a 10-second ramp-up time, so they just removed it. Funny enough, they pretty much just gave this ability to worgen and cataclysm without all the terrible restrictions. Epic mounts at release were just recolored normal mounts without armor. Then in patch 1.4 they removed the recolored mounts and added the armored versions we have today. Undead were able to communicate with the Alliance for a while at the beginning of vanilla. Undead are all pretty much raised humans, so it fit with the lore. Undead were also classified as undead in beta, so they could be targeted by things like old school exorcism, shackle undead, holy wrath, and turn evil. Also, Will of the Forsaken, Undead's racial ability, was a passive buff which made you immune to sleep, polymorph, and fear effects at all times. Spell schools used to have a skill system similar to how the weapon system used to work. Wind Fury weapon procs could proc off each other, and because of this, shamans were a little OP in PvP, seeing as they could randomly one-shot people. Frost Shock actually hit pretty hard, and Earth Shock had a baked-in interrupt, so shamans could randomly interrupt casters by just doing a normal rotation. When the Paladin Reckoning talent was first introduced, there was no cap on how many charges it could store, so a Paladin stored up 1,816 charges of Reckoning and used it to solo a world boss in 5 seconds, making Paladins the most overpowered class ever for 24 hours before it was fixed to only store 4 charges. In vanilla, Hunter and Warlock pets didn't scale with any stats at all. Healing and spell damage were 2 separate stats. There was spell power, which gave spell damage, and healing power, which increased your healing. The term global, which people often say when they get killed very fast in PvP, doesn't actually exist anymore. But in vanilla, in the time of no resilience, mages could actually kill people in a single global cooldown. What they did was use a macro that activated a double spell power trinket, Presence of Mind, a skill that makes your next spell cast instant cast, and Pyroblast, which used to have a 7-second cast time. If that Pyroblast critted, it could kill anyone in any gear with one hit.